What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Kofi Kingston, aka 1/3 of the New Day. You're not gonna say it with me, sir? Yeah, come on, you better participate. Let's try it again. 1/3 of the New Day, and you are watching The Young and the Wrestlers. Ha 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 ha.
Welcome to The Young and the Wrestlers, the pop culture's WWE podcast, the show that takes a look at the soap opera nature of the WWE, the storylines, the characters. At essence, we just mark out. Things are a little bit different today because today we are doing the 2021 Royal Rumble in review, and that is not Jem. That is what I called the most positive force in wrestling podcasts. JoshRobinson00, how are you, my friend?
Woohoo! I like how you put the 00 on there. TM. That is my legal full name at this stage.
That's right. You own the
Robinson00.
brand. You become the brand. You are the brand.
Well, yeah. I guess my brand is me at this point. I'm selling myself. I got my NWO shirt on. I'm ready to go. I like when I get to do guest spots because I don't got to do any of the work. I just got to flap my gums.
Yeah. So it is nice. So Jem, due to work, hasn't actually been able to watch the full Rumble yet. She's like, please help. I know we have the show to do. Just who I'm like, I know one person, and I know who I'm gonna call. And say because as I said, we're chatting about it in the pre-show. It's like there's one, like when there's a standout women's section, there's one person I call, and that is you, Josh. Because right now, before we get into the actual Rumble itself, for those that may not have seen you around these parts, because you've been here a couple times, you've got a new gig you're doing right now involving women's wrestling specifically, right?
So I do a lot of different things. I'm kind of in the process of if you haven't checked out, I invite you to go check out Love Wrestling CA on Twitter. Take it as like Cultaholic, what culture on a smaller scale, of course. But that kind of the articles, podcasts, videos. And I do a show called Network and Chill, which is a watch along podcast, which I've never done before, of just watching women's matches because it's the main reason I still watch wrestling after 20 years is standout women performances and just going back and looking at some hidden gems and kind of rediscovering a love, I think, for a lost era of women's wrestling as well in that kind of diva time where people just kind of turn their nose at. And I'm like, let me show you some gems from that time as well as all different kinds of eras of women's wrestling over WWE. But yeah, I do that. I've got other shows. I do Twitch streaming. I make video content. I'm doing all different kinds of stuff. I'm always kind of doing something else. So yeah, but wrestling is my core kind of content.
Yeah, no, you're going hard. It's fantastic to see. Like you're able to give the level of commitment that I wish I could give to wrestling. Because you know,
try.
like with job and game stuff, and like I'm kind of like, well, this is what I can do it. You know, man, if I had more time, I would be going down that same alley. Let me know. But we are here to talk about the 2021. Oh, nice backpedal. Rumble, Royal Rumble. A lot to talk about here. Let's kick things off with women in the kickoff show with the Women's Tag Team Championship match. It was the champions, Asuka and Charlotte Flair versus Shania Payne. That is Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. The second I say it, I can't say it any other way now. I'm going to keep saying the name wrong every single time. So there's a lot of build up into this match, and it also did play itself in the role as well. So previously, Charlotte and Asuka won the titles from Shania Payne, this is essentially their rematch. But it also ties in with a bunch of tagged stories that have been going on, as well as the overarching story with Charlotte. What did you think of this match and how it all fits and comes together?
So I didn't have any problem with the actual match itself. The match was, I wouldn't say it was fantastic. It was fine. It was like standard run-of-the-mill, what we're kind of expecting. I think the issue here is that I like layers in a story, but there was so much happening here that it kind of took away from any kind of actual tension between Shania Payne, and Charlotte and Asuka. There was no tension there. The tension was in other areas. So I think it was a little bit, lack of a better term, it was a little messy.
Yeah. I'd certainly agree with that because, like, the conversation is that there's no beef between the two of them. The only beef that they have is they're like, Asuka has won clean every time she's versed them at some point. So there's no like rivalry between them because their focus is elsewhere. This is just them going, we want a rematch, and they went, sure, no worries. And it kind of built it, yeah. And then in terms of, as you said, that layer to the story, like, what we see on Raw, the layer of the story involving Charlotte with Ric Flair and Lacey Evans is getting pretty surface level. We not like I and many other people very easily predicted that Lacey and Rick were going to get involved in this match, and that likely cost Charlotte and Asuka the win here. And we saw exactly that. Mm-hmm. And like to a T in terms of come out, distracted. Charlotte's like, and then they get ringside. They play hard distraction. Woman's right to the face with presumably like knuckle dusters or some sort of foreign implement. But then a leg drop from Shayna. From Nia Jax. I always say Shania Payne now. And that got the win, and that's where the belt changed hands. So I'm a little bit bummed that was so directly involved because now post Rumble with a Raw Talk segment that you showed me on Twitter has completely altered how I look at this storyline. But at the time watching the Rumble, I'm like, God damn it. Like, this is just more of that shit. Yeah. Because I'm in this boat where I'm looking at this story and I'm trying to see where it's going to go. Like, they're taking the titles off. My prediction was they're taking the titles off Charlotte and Asuka. This allows for a feud between them two, which then leads to Charlotte versus Asuka, presumably in the next couple of weeks or Mania for the title. But that doesn't seem to be the case here because I don't see that Charlotte and Lacey being this cohesive story, because I agree with Buddy in the chat. His comment, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Charlotte stan. She's one of the goats. Sucks she gets so much hate, and I think I agree with her. I agree with that. I think she is great. However, like she's like hulking out a little bit at the moment. Like she kind of seems to be really unbeatable, for better or worse. I think that's also playing into the story as well, because the idea, because you mentioned how from this backstage, from this Raw Talk promo that we saw with Lacey and Ric Flair, Rick talks about how she has exceeded anything that I can teach her. Hence why I'm shifting my knowledge and my years of talent to Lacey. And I think that's coming across in how Charlotte is wrestling right now. It's larger than life. It's bigger. Like, nothing can stop her. She's just like full motivation. She's come this far. She's higher above everybody else. She's kicking out at one, like, all the time. I've thrown a lot of info at you just then.
No. So, I'm going to play devil's advocate and speak in defense of Charlotte Flair just for the sake of it. Okay, so it might be a little long-winded, so just bear with me.
I just blasted your ear holes out, so it's fine. Go.
It's okay. So I'm going to take you on a journey. Let's go back to 2020, the Royal Rumble, and we're down to Shayna Baszler and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah. That was good.
And that crowd was hanging on everything when Shayna had Charlotte with the kind of the skin of the cat deal, the kind of thing with the legs, and then Charlotte's kind of nearly out and the crowd's going nuts because they're like, we want to see Charlotte get beat here. We want someone new to come through. Whether it's a heel or not, you always want new stars to get kind of that shine and that rub. Okay, throughout that whole match, Charlotte was kind of eliminating people, nearly getting eliminated by the likes of Beth Phoenix, Shotzi Blackheart nearly eliminated her at one stage in that Rumble. So many different women, and the crowd were on every single just layer of that and just hanging on like, yes, eliminate Charlotte. Okay, so Charlotte eventually wins, goes over, and there's that kind of like Charlotte won again feeling. Go through all of the stuff that she had prior with Becky, and she had all of these times where every time you think Charlotte's going to lose, she wins. Charlotte Flair is one of these characters that you have to sacrifice a few things to make this one better, because that moment when she does get beat, you look at the time she got beaten last woman standing with Becky Lynch at Evolution. You look at the time she's been beat by Asuka. Asuka's beaten her in the past. You look at the time she got in a triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship when she did lose the championship to Io Shirai. All of these times and wouldn't made as much impact if Charlotte didn't have this steam behind her, where she is a little hulky. She is a little bit more of that, no pun intended, she's the queen. She is the head of that. I would argue that Charlotte Flair is not only head of the women's division, she's up there in the upper echelons of the whole company, whether you're a man, woman, dog, cat, whatever, it doesn't matter. Charlotte Flair almost needs this little bit of, hey, kick out at one here. Hey, you're going to win most of your time. So then when you do get beat, it actually matters instead of it just being 50-50 all of the time. So yes, I understand the kind of criticism that Charlotte gets. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it that way. You can also look at it in a way of like, she doesn't write this script. She doesn't write this booking. Is she going to say no to losing a match? If I was a wrestler, I'd want to win every match. I'd want to win all the championships. I'm not going to lie. I'm selfish like that. But it's not like she's actually making these decisions. But you need to have characters like that. Otherwise, everyone just blends together and nobody is actually getting established at all. So I think Charlotte is one of the greatest talents they have in the whole company. She's certainly an elite level female performer, if not the best ever, in my opinion. In terms of star appeal, there's not really too many bigger people than Charlotte Flair. So you have to sacrifice some things in order to get Charlotte Flair where she needs to be, so then other people can eventually, whether people want to believe it or not, they're like, Charlotte just beats everybody. No, Charlotte does lose sometimes, and Charlotte does spend a lot of time flat on her back when the timing is right. But it is that kind of John Cena kind of look at it, because when he did get beat, it did matter. It just didn't happen as often as, say, I don't know, Carlito every week, just for lack of a better person. But you have to have Charlotte in that spot. You have to have someone in that role. Otherwise, everyone just is just the same. You have to have people that are way above the rest of the roster. Otherwise, there's nobody getting over ever. It's just, you're just beating people that don't matter.
This is why I needed you on the show. This is it. That's exactly why. That's fucking fantastic. And I can't argue with that. It's the same. The irony is that I didn't even realize it's the same argument that I use for Brock Lesnar. He's a boss fight. He's intentionally there to be a hurdle, and a fucking hard hurdle to get over. And so when you know, I was using last year's Rumble as an example, because when we're watching it with friends, they were like, this is bullshit. Brock Lesnar's eliminated 13 people in a row. This is dumb. I'm like, no, this is amazing. Because think about it. Whoever comes in and is the one that gets him out, it's going to be so sweet. And it was. And I think you're spot on there. Charlotte is exactly that. She is that boss fight. She is that hurdle to get over. And
she's
you push
Heihachi in Tekken. You know when you go through the arcade, she's Heihachi at the very end. And you know how hard it is to beat Heihachi? It is so hard. And you go over and over, you're like, oh, I just cannot beat this dude. He just keeps defeating me in round 2 every single time. But then when you finally beat him, you feel like you can have a cigarette. Like, you're like, finally, I've beat this dude. That's Charlotte Flair. When the moments like Becky would not be as big as she was without Charlotte. 100%. Becky, yes, okay, Becky eclipsed Charlotte in terms of worldwide appeal or whatever you want to say, but that wouldn't have happened without Charlotte Flair. There's so many different things in these moments where you think, even Sasha Banks to a certain degree, that very first big long feud that we had in the kind of women's evolution back, 5 years ago now, all those times that she kept losing and kept coming, it's like, it wouldn't have made Sasha who she is right now. So I think it all just helps. So she's Heihachi. So everyone just remember that if you're a Tekken fan.
That's it. You put it in my language, man, and I get it.
Yeah.
So in the chat, Ibiza goes, I agree with Josh. Her winning all the time makes her losses really mean something. But they need to do it as a heel turn, in my opinion. It works best that way.
I agree.
Fans are going to turn on her anyway, so make her embrace it. Roman Reigns. Right now.
I agree.
Same idea.
Charlotte is a better heel than a babyface. She can get very cringy as a babyface. And her character, at the end of the day, she's calling herself a queen. That's not very good guy-like.
Yeah.
Selfish.
And Buddy also agrees as well. He goes, Charlotte ended Asuka's streak, was the best match at Mania. Just can't have her lose often with that kind of strength. And the puck also adds, at the very least, Charlotte's one of the women in the WWE who could start that again. Charlotte's one of the women the WWE can put their faith in to make things great. Hard to name anybody else in that position.
Agreed.
So do you think in that sense, she's here to help put Lacey Evans up?
Yes, but I think, like I said before, the story is getting so messy and they're portraying it in a way, I'll just say it out loud, they're portraying it in a way that's very sexualized instead of what it actually is about at its core. And it's, for anyone that watch this, I'm sure you've watched this as well, Ryan, in your time that you've gone back and watched old wrestling. The Al Wilson stuff is with Tori and Dawn Marie back in end of 2002, going into 2003. It not in this sense, it's not as sexual as that, obviously, and as cheesy, but it has those elements of just, it looks like Lacey's just trying to jump all over Ric Flair to get ahead and being a bit of like a gold digger situation. When we kind of explain when they explained on Raw Talk what it's actually about in literally a 2-minute video that they could have easily done on Raw. It's so messy that it's not helping anybody. It doesn't make Charlotte look good. It makes Charlotte look kind of, it's just so messy with everybody. It's not really helping anybody here, in my opinion. Some people might view it differently, but I just wish we could move on. The only thing that I think can come out of it is that they're building multiple stories at once because they're going to have a Raw Women's Championship Elimination Chamber. That's my opinion. So I think that's what's going to happen. That's why Asuka's involved in all of these things and different elements and stuff like that. I think they're just going to kind of combine. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not really helping anybody. It just comes across as very last minute and very messy, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I like your approach of the women's title being on the line of a chamber. For me, I was saying all I'm seeing is people being tagged up constantly right now. So my approach was they're going to do a tag titles at Chamber again. I feel like they've done that already.
The first one was the first match for the tag titles.
There you go.
I got that out. That sentence was rough.
Yeah, no, I got
it there.
Because the second you said it, I went, oh yeah. Yeah, and I feel that's where I feel it's going as well. Because yeah, as you said, Asuka's kind of in this. Like, even though Asuka is the women's champion for Raw right now, she's not doing a whole lot. She's an accessory to a greater story. And so where do you see that now with her having the L here? Do you think it's going to allow her to focus back on that title?
I know it's going to sound unpopular, but I don't think Asuka's going to be the one carrying that thing for much longer. I think they're at the end of her title run. I don't think she'll be defending that title at WrestleMania. I think Charlotte will be. And I don't really see Asuka in the title picture at WrestleMania per se. I hate saying this because I love Asuka, and I love the fact that, especially in the time throughout last year, Asuka was an MVP of the pandemic era.
Yeah.
Really, of all those shows, she was so great. We loved Asuka so much, and she just has become an afterthought to so many other things. And I just think they're just putting a little bit more steam on Charlotte for that reason. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be away from this story. I honestly think the women's title is going to become a part of this story. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, as much as I don't like to say that, because I really do wish better for Asuka in that sense, but I just think it's a matter of where we are in the year and how much steam people have really got behind them.
Yeah, especially when we're heading towards Mania with the first pay-per-view in 18 months, 12 months to have a crowd. They're going to want big fucking matches people to get excited about. And Asuka can deliver that too, but I think Charlotte versus someone has that greater potential. Like, what if we see a rematch between, I haven't seen Raw today, so who knows if anyone from the Rumble has made an appearance. But the idea of, Charlotte versus Ripley again.
And that's what I think that's going to happen as well. And I think Rhea's going to get her win from last year.
Yeah, and like, to me, that is a Mania moment. Like, that's what I fucking want to see. So like that's it. So yeah, although Asuka is great, there's at least 2 more title defenses between now and Mania.
Yeah, well, because there's 2 pay-per-views in between Mania, which is bizarre to me. I wish I'd have none. I wish it was just Rumble. Then
Well, it used to be, and then
Oh yeah, but that's a conversation for a different day. But yeah, so I do think that they're putting this story kind of in the limelight because I think Charlotte, in my kind of eyes, it will be Charlotte that wins the title at the Elimination Chamber. Go to Fastlane, it'll be Lacey Charlotte for the title. Charlotte will get through Lacey. That'll be the end of that story, and then we go on to WrestleMania.
I like it a lot. Let's move on to the main card. Kick things off with the WWE Championship. It is the champion Drew McIntyre versus Oldberg. He's in, ready to go. Match takes no more than 2.5 minutes from the official bell ring, and Drew McIntyre retains here. So as to be expected, Goldberg, it's a short match. It's mostly finishes, and it's a a little bit of a spot fest, but not in the same way that when you normally use that word. It's the idea of just, spear, claymore, jackhammer, spear, claymore. Like you can kind of go which is fine. So me personally, I wasn't a big fan of this, mostly because it was a circumstance of, if you're opening the show with this, you better fucking have Drew win. Otherwise, no one's watching the rest of the show. Like, everyone's just, and I'm out. You know, because like no one's hot on Goldberg right now anyway. He's essentially trying to be that same point. He is a circumstance where if you get the win on him, you are heading in, like you are respected. You are pushed up that echelon in a on paper sense. For many people that remember, you know, fucking Goldberg nearly killed Undertaker at Crown Jewel like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So like the love for Goldberg isn't there, but it went the way I'm happy with. It was good enough. I think Goldberg can be happy with this. It was actually a pretty good match in terms of there was no real, like, I fucking hate the term botch, or, you know, because I couldn't do any of it, so who fucking cares?
Yeah, exactly.
But like, you know, some of the things didn't go as smooth as they should have, but I was really happy with it from a story's perspective. From what I saw, it wasn't amazing, but it did its job.
Yeah, I pretty much agreed with you across the board. I know what to kind of expect with Goldberg, especially in the year 2021. We're not going to get Goldberg doing 450s or having a 20-minute classic. That's not what Goldberg does, and nor should he. He should be having 2 or 3 minute matches. I have no actual issue with Goldberg. I have an issue more so with Goldberg in a championship match.
Yes.
I have no issue seeing Goldberg wrestle someone like they did at SummerSlam with Dolph Ziggler a few years ago.
That was dope. I enjoyed that. That's
fine. It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't have any real meaning behind it. It's just Goldberg's on the show. I just want to see him spear someone, do a jackhammer, and kind of move on with the show. In the sense of this, there's stakes on it, and after what we've seen last year with The Fiend and everything like that, there was certainly a little bit of sense of like, please don't do this again. But like you said, it was like 2.5 minutes. It was claymores. It was spears. It's very hard to analyze a match like that because there's no substance to it. It's just kind of going through the motions, do your spots that you need to do, and kind of go on. The only thing that I can take away from it, other than Drew won, thank God, is that Goldberg was in shorts.
Yeah.
Like Brock Lesnar shorts. And I was like, okay.
I'm saying,
cool.
Were you meant
also,
to be...
Goldberg is like 54 years old.
Yeah.
If I looked like that at 54 years old, I would be thanking the heavens. He is jacked. He does not look 54 years old.
I look worse than him, and I'm fucking 31.
I'm 25, and I'm like, holy shit! Stop eating the Oreos. He's jacked.
Yeah, and there were a couple of little subtle things here as well, like semi-subtle. You know, like when the match kicked off, Drew McIntyre, first thing he does is spear him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a nice little like fuck you, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, the little sort of handshake at the end, lift of the hand, which is exactly what this match was supposed to be. Just using a legend to help put someone up, which is how legends should be used.
Agreed.
So
Absolutely.
Is this WWE, you know, looking and learning? Probably not. But
no way. Goldberg will probably win the title at the next pay-per-view. He'll get his revenge on the almighty Drew. No. The only thing that I will say from the actual end itself is when Goldberg's walking out, he's kind of stumbling and stuff like that. I think Goldberg's gearing up for his last go-round. Yeah. His last match very soon. I think I think Goldberg is getting, well, obviously he's at the end of his career. He's certainly not in his prime. But just the way they were kind of presenting it, it felt very... not exactly, but WrestleMania 27 Taker when he was kind of falling off the stretcher or whatever it was. Yeah. And he was kind of like just kind of dying out. I kind of see that for Goldberg. I don't think he's got too many more matches left in him. So I think we're gearing up for that. Yeah, like
I'd agree with that. So I was watching. So I had just the live feed on before the pay-per-view. So I watched the bump. And he was on there, and he was talking about how his kid and how he's sort of helping his kid train. And he's like, it's kind of a situation. He's like, I just care more about helping my kid right now. You mean I'm not going to say no to come and do a job, but you know that's my focus.
Yeah, he said basically in his words, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I'm no longer doing this for my kid. Like he's going to play football and he doesn't really care to watch me anymore. I'm doing this as a responsibility to wrestling. Yeah. Because I feel like I owe it almost to wrestling because they gave me such a life. So, when you're doing it for reasons beyond you and more of a responsibility, I think that kind of checks you out.
Oh, but I
already.
mean that
You're
in terms of,
halfway there.
for him, it's like my goal in life is to help him play football, not
Exactly,
for me
yeah.
to do whatever I need to do. So
Yeah.
I think that changes the motivations as well.
Yeah.
And we can talk more about where we think Drew's going to go from here a little bit later. But before we do that, we need to get into the next match, which from recollection was Carmela versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So Sasha Banks, the current champion, does retain here. This is probably the match that I cared the least about, mostly because this is her third go at the title. I'm like, why have you got 3 goes at the title? I knew Reginald would play a role somehow. And Carmela is fine to me personally. Like, I've not seen when she was really, really good. Or so when she was really had a better run. Like, I know she was champion for a while a couple of years ago. That was before I really got into it. So I've never seen her be prominent. What I know her for is her R-Truth stuff. And I'm like, that's just fucking dope. Go back to that. That was fun. Give me that. Give me more Truth. And because Truth is kind of doing a whole bunch of nothing right now. Get them together. That would be fun. So this untouchable thing, for someone that is untouchable, you've been touched on the mat, for the 3 count multiple times now, woman. You're very, very touchable, is all I'm saying. But the only thing that I will compliment this match for is the suicide diver she goes for, where she kind of over misses it, and her face is that like she scorpioned herself a little bit and slid on her face, and like if Sasha didn't kind of catch her and take a lot of that,
Sasha
brunt,
was a little close. I think her footing was a little. I was like,
thankfully she grabbed her.
That could have been,
she grabbed her waist and helped that momentum slow, but she's still like, face on a window, like. So I died when I saw that. I thought that was fucking hysterical. But she turned to be okay, so that was great. And so in the chat, Mad Dog very loudly, justice for Reginald.
Oh.
Because I guess he did.
Reginald fan.
Sash did the dirty, got him kicked out.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, hashtag Reginald did no wrong.
Yeah, he really didn't. It was Sasha.
So what's your thoughts on this one?
This match was stalling for Sasha Banks, giving her something to do, and it was just a story. Their match at TLC, I thought, was pleasantly surprising. They had a very fun little match at TLC last month, or month before now, last year, I guess you could say. And then we go into this one, and it's exactly that. It just feels like, okay, this is just getting Sasha Banks on the card. It's another match to kind of fill some time. They've got a story. You don't really have to quote unquote sacrifice anybody else, and it doesn't hurt Mela. You said you didn't really see Mela when she was like champion and stuff like that. Mela to me is a better in-ring worker now than then.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
I believe she's improved greatly in the ring, and I think she's kind of a little bit slept on in terms of how good she can actually go. I really believe that. Her character now is the opposite to me. Like, this stuff that she's doing now isn't as good as what she was doing in, say, 2018 or 2017, whenever she was champion. I can't remember. And so I think it's like a weird thing. Mela is someone that is, there is, I guess, tiers in terms of the women, like the people at the top, the people kind of in the middle, and the people at the bottom. She's very much someone that's just like maybe at the top of the middle, but she's in the middle.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt her to take an L. You do have a good point of like, why did she get a third shot? She didn't really do anything to earn it other than drink some wine and smash it over Banks's head. But yeah, it's just completely filler. The match was fine. I didn't have any problem with it. It got us where we needed to go. And I guess it just gives a little bit more of a kind of rub with Sasha. Yeah,
once again, it's tough to talk about because, as we do with this show, it's about stories and character. And it's tough to talk about what the future holds for Sasha until we talk about what comes up next. Then we can touch on that. So what came next was the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, I don't have the list of all the entrants. We'll just got to go with the ones that pay attention, that are important, and we'll go from there. Should I pull up a list? Probably shouldn't I?
It's up to you, but I mean, I can kind of, in my head, I've watched this match 5 times in 2 days.
Oh man, then you'll find you've got this. But we kick things off with Bayley at number 1. Number 2 was
the returning Naomi.
That's right, Naomi with brand new long hair. I dug the hair, man. It was brilliant.
New gear.
Yeah, new gear, which was cool. So now were these announced heading in? Because I stayed completely away. Because I know the men's 1 and 2 were announced before, and the 30th of the women was.
So 30 was announced for the women on backstage. Well, they had a match for the women, and then 1 and 2 was obviously announced for backstage. But the women up till number 30 were not announced. I thought Bayley was going to start, to be completely honest. I was like, Bayley's going to be the kind of one that kind of runs this Rumble through because she wasn't going to win. So I think they just wanted, add some steam to her list of achievements. But yeah, Bayley and Naomi started.
All right, so here we go. So Mad Dog coming through with the good in the chats. Bayley at number 1, Naomi at 2. My pick to win. Bianca Belair at 3, and then so that was amazing. That was brilliant. Then this is where I'm coming to you. Billie Kay number 4.
If I can say anything, Billie Kay come out with a stack of her headshots with her resume on the back. Don't forget that.
Of course.
And hey, let's actually, you guys talk about kayfabe and kind of the story and making wrestling make sense in a way. Okay, if you don't get in the ring, you cannot get eliminated.
Damn right.
So,
but you technically
people can say whatever they want.
She played smart. She doesn't technically in the match until she gets in. So So she can't just stay outside and not win. Sorry, and win. She still has to get in the ring at some point. So you're spot on. In true Weasley-esque Billie Kay, it's kind of fun. Just went straight commentary. They had a headset there for her and everything. Oh, fucking loved it.
Voice. That voice. I like to think that I hope that's how people hear us. Because, my God, Billie Kay is a one-of-a-kind talent. I truly believe that. I know I'm a Billie Kay mark. I don't even care at this point anymore. I absolutely stand that woman. She's above all anybody for me. But she is so different from everybody else. She doesn't blend in. She looks different. She talks different. She has this her comedic timing. Yeah. Oh, boy. I dream of having comedic timing like that. She's very good at what she does. But the kind of story of, I guess, the first 8 entrants was
8 entrants.
Yeah. Billie was handing out a resume being like, hey, help me. Let's team up and then we'll throw each other out at the end, basically was the I guess the story behind it. But she kind of was giving headshot. People were like, nah, bitch, like, I don't have any interest in you. Like, and then she kind of went back to commentary and stuff like that. But that was like her little chunk. And I'm like, I love the thing I take away most from this match, from the whole standpoint of this match, is that everybody shined at some point in this match. We'll talk about the men's Rumble later, but this was mapped out so beautifully, this women's Royal Rumble.
Without a doubt.
Easily the best, one of the best Rumbles, not just women's, easily the best women's Rumble I've ever seen, but one of the best Rumbles I've seen in quite some time, just in terms of how it was mapped out. I remember saying to my sister, I was like, dude, this Rumble is really good.
Yeah.
Take away whatever you think about people. It's like a really good Rumble.
Because, yeah, like I said, like there's multiple stories going on. They're not overriding each other. It's all kind of like progressing individuals, but also progressing the collective. I big fan. So, like, yeah, having Billie come out and sort of get that stuff by the side. And similar to yourself, but I've loved the Iconics since I fucking, because when I watch, for those that don't know, the thing that got me into wrestling again was Super Showdown. So seeing them come out, being as fucking Australian as they possibly could, was the thing that won me over. And that, and plus Kevin Owens threatening to punch AJ Styles' family was the two things that got me into wrestling. I was like, this is so dumb, I'm in. But yeah, the Iconics, so it was just is insane. So like they sound, like Billie Kay, she sounds like 3 galahs strapped together. She's fucking absolutely brilliant. Like I was worried on the split though that she would be left behind because Peyton seems like the more traditional WWE woman, right? Like, but it's almost gone the other way. Like the pairing were good, but I had a feeling that I don't know how it would go when they separated, but I've learned very quickly that the charm, the charisma, the humor, everything that made the Iconics an incredible duo has secretly come from Billie.
Peyton's biggest asset was Billie Kay.
Yes. The fact that Billy is not having a singles run right now, but also kind of having a singles run, and Peyton just got rebranded into a different group says a whole lot.
And she's become the afterthought of that team, by the way.
Spot on. And Billy is having a standout moment within a greater Rumble. Many women would kill to be a center of attention within a Rumble.
I know, it's kind of crazy. Everyone said Billy was going to be because Billy's different. Peyton, yes, she's the more typical kind of WWE mold, but they have 15 of those.
Yes.
That can fit that bill. There's not really too many. I can't think of even one other woman in that company, one other man in that company that can fit what Billy Kay does. That's why. And I like both of them. I want the best for both of them. If I was in a perfect world, they would be together. They would never separated. But Peyton I hate saying this. I love Peyton. I think she's very, very talented.
And Mad Dog is already sad for Peyton.
I know. She's a forgettable talent.
Yes.
And I hate saying that.
Yes.
She's easily forgotten when Billy Kay has something that makes her different from anybody else ever. There's nobody that's ever been like Billy Kay. So I want Peyton to be world champion. I want Billy to be world champion. But that doesn't always happen. And sometimes when a team separates, one shines and one flusters. And to be honest, Peyton has had a few opportunities that she's kind of let fall out of her fingertips when Billy Kay is getting 30 seconds to a minute on every SmackDown.
Yeah.
And kind of being the one that we're talking about after SmackDown. People are like, oh, Billy's hilarious and stuff like that. But she had a great moment. Obviously, I want the new tag team champions to be Billy and Jilly. I just want that forever. I want them to main event every show. Jillian Hall, anyone that knows me with wrestling knows that I love the Diva era. So seeing them get a little bit of a shine as well made me that was where I first blew my voice out, was with Jillian Hall. But who would ever thought would see Jillian Hall again?
I didn't know who she was.
Oh, you need to go. I'm going to have to show you some Jillian Hall clips. Obviously, as you know, sensational voice, just beautiful singer, voice of an angel. But the fact that Jillian Hall was there, it's like, that's crazy to me that I'm seeing Jillian Hall again. But not only that, I love the silliness of professional wrestling because wrestling is stupid. Wrestling is dumb.
People take it way too fucking seriously.
It's dumb. Let's have someone come out and sing. Like here, Billy and Jilly. How stupid is that? It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Sign me on I'll give them all of my money. And the fact that kind of was a story within the Rumble is like, when I would argue that nearly the Royal Rumble has more eyes on it than WrestleMania. You're having so many casuals watch the Royal Rumble, and they're seeing that. It's like, that's crazy to me. I love the silliness of wrestling. So sign me up for Billy and Jilly. Thank you very much.
So Reese on Wrestling in the chat jumps in and he says, I popped so hard for Jillian Hall. That was so random and unexpected.
I'm the hardest thing since sliced bread. Yeah, she's so good. It's cool to see. Obviously we all love returns in the Rumble. I'll just kind of move us along. A couple spots later, Victoria comes out and I nearly cried. The fact that she was probably one of the only women that weren't getting any recognition for the quote unquote evolution. She was one that pioneered that, and certainly one that certainly deserves to be talked about a lot more than she ever has been. It's actually a perfect person to talk about you with, because you probably wouldn't have heard a lot about Victoria if you were just watching WWE TV. She is someone that should be wrestling now, in the sense of, like, if she was in her prime, she would just be shining.
Yeah.
She's so good, and like, I lost my mind, and to hear that and to see her, and still killing it too, by the way. I was like, damn, you go, girl. She's 50 years old. I don't think anyone ever actually realizes that Victoria is 50 years old. Widow's Peak, my favorite finisher of all time. Fun fact. But to see her is like, man, in 2002, she was the shit. And finally, someone like that getting recognition is just so cool to me. But that's why I sound like I do at the moment, is because of that was the first one, other than Jillian. Victoria coming out is like, wowza. As someone who's watched wrestling, I mean, I grew up in the Ruthless Aggression era, so she was at the forefront with Trish and Lita, and you always hear them talked about. You never really hear the Jazz of the world, and Victoria, Molly Holly, only recently has really been talked about again. So Victoria is just someone that's so cool, and I love that we're in that spot with women now, where we're bringing back Jillian Hall and we're bringing back Victoria and Tori Wilson, and it matters. It's not just like they were hot, boobies and all that kind of stuff. It's like, know they could get it done in the ring, and it's important, and it's like this is what I wanted from the women's evolution. Not to have the first of everything. It's just it's normal now. We're at a stage where there's no more first because we've run out of them all, thank God. And it's just becoming a part of the calendar. And it's just exactly like the men. It's so cool. But Victoria coming back is just crazy.
Spot on, man. Any chance you got a light in there, dude? You're starting to get lost in the shadows.
Am I getting dark?
It's a little bit lost.
I'll turn on a light.
That's all right. Why? Sorry, it's just because before you had a window open and you're just getting lost. There we go.
It's okay. Is that better? I had my OBS open, so it's a black screen. So that probably will make me shine a little bit more.
No, that's much better. But this is we'll get it. So we'll start running through. So we saw. So this is. So first, Shotzi Blackheart came out at 5, which had me excited because I was so worried that we weren't going to get NXT talent. You know, with the previous outbreak zones or whatever, I didn't think there was going to be that mix. But the second I saw that fucking logo and I heard that tank, I was like, shit, yeah, I know what's coming now, and I'm going to get fucking excited. So yeah, then we had Shayna Baszler coming in early, who I knew she was going to be another reckoning force this pay-per-view, followed by Toni Storm, Jillian Hall, Ruby Riott, Victoria, Peyton Royce, Santana Garrett, who I didn't know. But she came a very fluorescent. She had a good go.
Yeah, a very what's the word here that I'm looking for? A very interesting spot. Santana is not really someone that's really featured on NXT very often. I'll put it that way. So a very interesting spot. By the way, I fixed my lighting. That should be better.
Thank you.
Yeah, so an interesting spot. She's not. I can name a handful of matches that she's been on NXT TV for. And yeah, interesting spot, but nonetheless, she was in it.
Yes. Well, that's good to know. Good. I'm kind of going, but that's fine. But then we had Liv Morgan coming out in a Christina Aguilera's Dirty inspired outfit. I was like, yeah, shit.
The gay man in me went crazy. I was like, I know exactly what that's from. That's Christina Aguilera.
The straight man in me was like, juice. I'm glad it delivered the exact same response. Next up was the fourth Australian in this Rumble, Rhea Ripley. There was so much Australian representation in this Rumble, like I couldn't have been any fucking happier. Like I don't get patriotic ever. I really don't give a shit that I just happen to be born on this area of the earth. However, knowing that up until this point, we're at 14, almost like literally a third of all the women in this ring were Australian women.
So crazy. And she's from Adelaide, and that's like, no one ever comes from Adelaide. It's like not a thing. And the fact that she was going in as a favorite for this Rumble, by the way, is like kind of insane. So like the little Adelaide boy in me is just going like, oh my God, I've been to the same shopping centers as this woman. I'm essentially a year older than Rhea. So that's kind of crazy to me that we've been in the vicinity of one another probably at some stage.
Yeah.
But like, by the way, Rhea Ripley is a fucking badass.
She's
huge,
exceptional.
And I mean that in a good way. She is huge. She is jacked. Like I would not want to get into a fight with this woman because she would kick my white ass. Like she would kick me.
Big time. Let's just run through them because then we can get more about it. And she's a damn nerd, says Puck. Number 15, Charlotte Flair. Number 16, Dana Brooke. 17, Tori Wilson. 18, Lacey Evans. Number 19, Mickie James.
Hey, Mickey.
Coming out, not bell bottoms, by the way.
That pissed me off. I was like, how dare you?
Oh, no, but she had the tassels on the belt, so the tassels were still there. Wasn't the same. However, if we're going to talk about, straight man feelings, holy shit. Fuck, Mickie James. Oh, god damn, Mickie James. She's babing. Speaking of babing, Nikki Cross.
Hey.
I think she's trimmed down. She's looking brilliant.
She was lean. I was like, she's lean. I'm like, yeah,
but she's still fucking bonkers, and she runs in and starts wrecking shit. Oh, and we haven't mentioned it yet, but like Bayley before, the amount of spots that I saw of Bayley in the behind, like something's happening at the front, and then you see her just run from corner to corner and fucking deck someone, is just
Bayley's great.
Brilliant. Like that's what I kept looking out for.
And Cole in the back of the head. We have to talk about that.
Yes.
She had Cole. She said on Twitter that if she won the Rumble, she was going to fight Michael Cole.
I want to see that shit. That's the shit I want to see.
That's dangerous because Michael Cole is undefeated at WrestleMania.
That's true. He is very. I even heard of that one.
She might be knocking up the wrong tree, but the fact that she shaved Cole into the back of her head, that's gnarly.
That's commitment to the bit in the best possible way. And, as I said, the last 2 weeks I've been talking all about the intergender matches. Let's find a right way to do it. That is a right way to do it. Bayley versus absolutely. Michael Cole. That is how you do it. Alicia Fox, who then became 24/7 champion for a little while. Mandy Rose, Dakota Kai. They're another Oceanic Anzac representation. Carmela, Tamina, Lana, Alexa Bliss, Ember Moon, Nia Jax, and then at number 30 with Natalya. So we won't go too hard into the elimination side of things, but in short, I believe the most eliminations went to... Well, Jax had 4, Belair had 4, by the looks of this. So
Belair now is the all-time...
Oh, no, Ripley had 5. I think Ripley came out the best.
Yeah, I think Belair moved
she had
into
6.
the number 2s. Damn, Ripley killed. I know she eliminated... Yeah, she did eliminate a lot of people when you think about it. Ripley killed in that Rumble. I guess I'll kind of wrap it up in a bow of everything I think about this Rumble. Just like I said at the beginning, just mapped out so brilliantly and just gave everybody... No one looked bad in this Rumble. Everybody kind of got their shit in. And it just worked really well from... There was a very defining beginning, middle, and end. It wasn't messy. Nothing was overlapping each other. There was cool returns. Victoria, Jillian Hall, Mickie James coming back, Tori Wilson, Alicia Fox. A lot of people didn't like the 24/7 stuff. I like comedy, so I like that kind of stuff. I thought it was cool. It gave you a kind of spot with R-Truth, and R-Truth is great. And then Alicia Fox kind of doing some stuff. So I was fine. I guess if I'm going to talk about anything, I guess it's the kind of finishing sequence because it was just so good. It was just
before we jump into the final, I want to run through a couple of things that sort of caught my attention. Having Lana come back, which was cool, and having her also eliminate Nia Jax is brilliant. That puts a nice full stop. There's payoff on that. It's done. It wasn't just sort of lost to the ether. So I'm happy with that. I'm a little disappointed that Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss didn't get to spend some time together, but their stories aren't crossing right now, so that's a bit of a bummer. Alexa Bliss, who was originally my favorite to win. Ripley got 7 actually, because her 7th elimination was Bliss. So yeah, having Alexa Bliss come out almost through her Fiend stuff and fucking Ripley's like, yeah, nah, and just throws her over the rope. Mwah, beautiful. Because for me, if that leads to Ripley versus Bliss, give me that. Tall woman versus short woman. I want it. And then
that's a complaint I actually have about this Rumble. If I can nitpick it.
Yeah, sure.
If I can nitpick it. The Bliss stuff. Bliss shouldn't have been anywhere near this match, in my opinion, because I don't think her character really fits this, what she's doing. I think she exceeds certain things. And it's just kind of awkward. Like, I do like how she was eliminated by Ripley before she got into that kind of Fiend stuff, because if you start getting into that, then it's just all kinds of kayfabe craziness, and it's like, you can't really beat that character to me. So, I do like that. I just don't think Bliss should have been anywhere near this in the start.
Yeah.
That could have went to somebody else, and we could have gone around that. But that's literally if I'm just dissecting it for what it is.
Yeah, because you would really think with the powers that she's demonstrated, you think they'd like all jump on her, right? But I like the idea of having one of them be so fucking strong. She's like, no, I've got no time for this. Get out of here.
Get out of here before
on top of that as well, we had when Lacey Evans came in, that ring fucking split. Everyone went to the back corner because Charlotte's in the middle looking shitty. Lacey's coming in. Everyone's like, "No, we're just like they weren't even fighting anymore. They're just like, we're just going to take a seat. We're going to nurse our wounds. We're going to let them do what they got to do." That was a nice little touch because it's a situation of we know Charlotte's going to fucking kill someone. Let's go with it. But the final 4 were Natalya, mostly due to proximity, coming out of 30. Charlotte Flair, Ripley, Bianca Belair. So when Natalya got yeeted, fine. The whole final 3, I was on the edge of my seat.
Because that were the 3 that I was like, one of these women are going to win. That was my idea going into the Rumble.
Yeah.
It was either going to be Charlotte, Rhea, or Belair.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, boy, and you know what's even better? I was watching the Rumble with 2 other people. We all had someone different.
Oh, nice.
I love that. My sister Shaylee was Charlotte. My sister's fiance was Ripley, and I was Belair. And I was like, we were all just kind of like, no. It was just the best energy. Like, I love that.
So I had Belair mostly because of even, a bit of the math. Like, they had the Chronicle and stuff like that. I'm like, she's gonna win it. But even then, I'm not mad about it. Bliss was my option for a storyline perspective. I thought that'd be a cool way to give something to do with Asuka, especially as we just saw that. Ripley was not on the cards for me because I really didn't know if they were going to have that NXT main roster convergence for safety reasons. But the second that they did, that's when my brain started going, oh my God, could it be Ripley? Could it be that? Like, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Like, is Io going to get involved as well? Like, doing all these extra things that started pumping through my head. But yeah, so when they had that moment, if they had to team up together and throw Charlotte over the edge, because as Mad Dog points out, Final 3 was 1 Raw, 1 NXT, 1 SmackDown. So then my brain started racing. I'm like, okay, if it's SmackDown, if it's Raw, if it's NXT, who's going to go where? Because I pointed that out to Craig as well. I'm like, this is good. It's a similar spot to the back of Survivor Series, like not last year, the year before in 2019. When it was Roman, Keith, and Seth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is fantastic. I need, like, there's so many ways that this can go. I'm thinking, all right, okay, so if Ripley wins, is she going to go to main? Because I think it's about time she goes to main. But like, is she going to go here? She's going to go there. Probably think she's going to Raw. I'm like, yeah, but if it's Belair wins, it's probably going to be SmackDown, right? Because her versus Sasha is going to be dope. And then Charlotte, I'm like, well, Charlotte can go anywhere. She's got like fucking 14 champions at this point. What the fuck is Sasha going to do? So like that, having those moments of seconds and seconds and seconds was just crazy level of thought. And then Charlotte gets yeeted, and I'm like, this couldn't be any more perfect. This is exactly the shit that I want out of a Rumble. It is 2 up-and-comers. It is people that are 100% going to become the new faces of women in the WWE, whether it be now, whether it be in a year from now. That's what I want to see. So we saw both of them have a tremendous run at last year's Mania, but this is Belair. She's coming in. She's going to be that top one, and Ripley was in Belair's position from last year, and that's the sense that I've got. And we are about to see these 2 women be a bunch of new blood, because if you look across the SmackDown and Raw right now, there are a ton of women, but sadly, a lot of them aren't stepping up. Stepping up in terms of they're not being written into these larger stories. But what we see with Ripley, what we see with Belair, is the future of both those brands, because I'm pretty confident that obviously Belair's on SmackDown, but she's gonna go for that title, and Ripley's going to Raw.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think Belair Banks is night 1's main event.
Yeah, sorry, opinion. Belair wins. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Belair wins. Spoiler alert, I guess. But I think Belair and Banks is going to main event night 1, while we'll talk about the men's Rumble winner main eventing night 2. I think that's just how it's going to go. I believe that Bianca Belair can be as big as Becky Lynch. I truly believe that. I think you can slap that woman on a poster. The stuff that she can do. And not only that, if you look at the way that she presents herself as a human being, very easy conversational. She can go on a talk show. You can kind of just see that she is someone that could wave the WWE flag, and you'd be pretty well-spoken, looks the part. She is the modern day woman in terms of a muscular woman embracing that bigger quote unquote stature and being proud and being athletic instead of just being, cookie cutter, hourglass figure. She is a different woman. I think that she can be the star of WWE. I truly believe that. I think this is just the start of it. But just to have Rhea and Belair in there for the last 3 or 4 minutes of the match, and just the near eliminations that she'll force finishes in these matches it was so well done, because I just remember saying Rhea's going to win. No, Bianca's going to win. No, Rhea's going to win. No, Bianca's going to win. There was no moment where I was like, oh, it's very obvious that this person's going to win. It was like back and forth, and the whole sequence was just to a T perfect. Nothing went well. We wouldn't know, but nothing went wrong. Everything just worked so well. It was just the perfect ending. It was very the only way I can describe it to, if people want some kind of like comparison, is like the way that the 2007 Rumble ended with Shawn and Taker, and how they kind of had a match at the end of it. Rhea and Bianca were having a match at the end of this Rumble. It was just so brilliantly done, and that was such a feel-good win.
Yeah.
I would have went either way, and I would have been pretty happy because I like both of these women. But just that moment, I was like, Bianca actually won. We said we thought she was going to win. She was a pretty big favorite going in. It's like, no, she actually won, and then you actually go, oh, we might be getting. I mean, either way, Bianca versus Banks or Bianca versus Asuka, as it stands, would be a dope match. But I think Bianca and Banks. Oh, I just think that could be, with the size that Banks is and the strength that Belair has, matched with both of their athleticism, and let's just, they'll be making history. Two people of color in one match in a main event of WrestleMania has never happened before.
Yeah.
And I think that says something for how things should be going, and it shouldn't be about that, but the fact that it hasn't happened is a pretty big deal. And I think that's pretty damn cool and pretty neat. But I think Banks and Belair is definitely the one to go with. I just don't see Bianca going for the Raw.
No, yeah, I'm spot on with you there. She's going to Banks. Plus, obviously, with Montez being on SmackDown, like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though there's no touring anything at the moment, it just makes sense for her to stay there. Because right now Sasha doesn't really have anyone, so this is that build for her. Because Ibiza says in the chat, who turns face? Sorry, who turns heel? Sorry,
I don't think anyone needs to.
I think, the person I think that is most likely is Sasha, because if we look at what. Because admittedly, when I first saw Belair at NXT, I was like, I don't get her character. I don't understand it. It's not for me. Yet over time, I have completely been changed. I'm just watching her come and, like, because I'm like, what is this EST bullshit? But it wasn't until which comes out and she's like, I'm the strongest, the biggest, the fastest, the bestest. I'm like, oh, I get it.
The roughest, the toughest, the quickest. Yeah, she's the
I'm like, fuck, yeah. And then she proceeds to not just say that, but fucking demonstrate it. And then that's what sold me completely.
She's a beast, by the way. She is a beast. Like, what she can do.
She puts the EST.
Crazy.
Yeah. There's no EST in Beast, but there isn't. And that's one of those things. And when she had this little promo at the back end of it, and it was so heartfelt and human and real, and I loved it, and I gobbled it all up. Mm-hmm. And then she looked at the side. She said, "I want to put the EST in WrestleMania," and I went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it's right there.
I'm like, That's a fucking shirt. That is the same level of merchandising as WrestleMania.
It's gonna be that though. Like, can you imagine that moment when Bianca pins Sasha, middle of the ring, and Michael Cole is screaming, "The EST has been put into WrestleMania"? Like, that is marketable, because I think that's to me. Call me old-fashioned, but I like when the Royal Rumble winner wins at WrestleMania.
Well, in terms of the stats they gave out, we've come to the last four winners of the Rumble have won their respective title at WrestleMania.
So I hope that she wins, and I just think it'll be a very feel-good moment. But if anyone's going to turn, I don't think it necessarily needs it. I think Sasha will be more of the heel in the story per se, but I think they're going to pretty much portray what they're portraying now. And I think it's just going to be a classic who's better, I want the title feud, and I don't think it needs anything extra. I know that sounds very boring, but I like the fact that I think this story it writes itself. I'm the best. No, I'm the best. I want the title. I'm going to keep my title. Let's have a wrestling match. Yeah. And I think it's just going to be their work is going to precede anything they could do in like a fancy story, but very feel good. Like you said, that promo was very human. It just felt very real. And I gobble that up like you do. So
because in the same way that, like, we know that for WWE, shit's scripted. Everything is scripted in terms of the promos, right? So to get that dead set humanity, that real that sometimes gets kind of lost in the robotic nature of their promos is completely standout, and that's where it wins me over. But there's a lot to behold. SmackDown coming up on this Saturday. I imagine we're going to see a lot more, and it's going to head into that. Next up was the Universal title. It was Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, the Big Dog, versus Kevin Owens, last man standing. I fucking loved this match.
Beep, beep, golf cart. That was a great spot. Yeah, me too. Lived up to the hype. Very crazy. Very just balls to the wall. it's almost too like it's hard to put into words what you think about this match because it was just very good. And it was just I don't love last man standing matches. It's not a gimmick that I personally love. I think they can become very boring very fast because it takes away your false finish of like a 2 count. So if they're done well and you kind of got me, I'm like, yep, that's a good last man standing match because they can become very just the same, like counting and all that. There wasn't a lot of that in this though. It was very just like go, go, go. And although poor old Paul Heyman got a little bit clustered with those handcuffs, he could not get them off.
Yeah,
they were stuck.
That 5 to 6 count was about a good 20 seconds.
The referee just kind of was like, I'm just gonna have to stop. And then Roman was like squatting. I'm like, oh,
because he had one foot up, he can't. So technically, he was kind of standing. Yeah.
I was like, oh, we can't get them off. This is awkward. But the finish itself with the guillotine, but all the spots through what they went. Owens off the forklift, he jumped off, did a senton off of there. The golf cart through the stage. They literally went everywhere. Very, very physical match too.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's these two, so you know they're going to kind of do that. Because it was interesting because I think everyone just assumed, rightfully so, that we're going into this match, Roman was going to win. There was really no Owens was going to win this one. So predictability doesn't mean bad. It's the journey, not the destination. So they did a very good job a cap to a very good program too. They've had a great rivalry.
Yeah, big time. So like, because I'm in the same boat. I was like, there's no way that Roman's losing in here because my original idea was to Mania, which would be which originally was the Hollywood Mania and was to take on The Rock for the actual head of the table. However, that looks like it's not going to happen. But I'm like, he's still not losing it. Like he's running to Mania Plus. Like this is so good. But this stipulation got to show what Kevin Owens can do. It's fight Owens fight for a fucking reason. That's because he just goes. And what we got to see is the resilience of Kevin Owens, persistence. He kept going, but then we also get to see the frustration build in Roman in almost a situation of why the fuck won't you die? It's that sort of that whole setup. And then as you said, it got out of the ring and it got sort of chaotic and it became a bit more of a Falls Count Anywhere street fight sort of vibe as anything goes, which is a great way because last man standing normally is just push. Count to 9. Oh, he's back up. But to add a bit more here, added a complete new layer. And then like the forklift was fantastic. I thought he was going to be pinned with the forklift, and then how Roman going to get out of it because Roman's not losing. So is he going to like fucking push the forklift off? And that would have been a cool spot. Like that's what I wanted to see. But instead, we're seeing Kevin Owens is jumping off everything. And the golf cart bit, like I saw some really like shitty digs from like AEW and whatnot around about the golf cart spot. I'm like, you're not the fucking first to do a golf cart spot, mate. I love that spot with Sami Zayn. I popped so hard when I saw it, but you're not the only ones. And if anything, this looked a little bit gnarlier because fucking Kevin Owens went straight through that piece of shit. Like he just went
and he bitch slapped Roman in the face.
And that's where he cut his lip.
It was like bam, and like the thing was on Roman. I was like, that probably hurt Roman more than it hurt.
So a bit later,
Owens.
you see Roman's got a busted lip, and he's just like, that's the moment, like, and it just fucking rockets him in the jaw.
It was a cool spot nonetheless. I don't give a shit who come up with it first. It's wrestling. Who really invented anything in wrestling? They're all doing the same shit anyway. So like, it doesn't. I just.
But they're also different spots. In the idea of when we see the card, like we see it coming, like, oh no, someone's gonna fucking die. But here we got to see the like that complete blindside hit, and I like.
It scared me, to be honest. I was like, wow.
It's that two kinds of a good spot. You know what I mean? It's in terms of a good comedic-y surprise part. Like there's anticipation, there's build up in suspense. As Matt Hardy was chasing down Sammy Guevara, but here I'm like, oh, it's out of nowhere. Roman comes in and fucking wrecks his day, and both are exceptional emotional responses for me personally. I loved it. I got down to the end because once Roman got handcuffed, I was like, oh, this could be it. I got worked for a minute. I'm like, is this it? Turns out it wasn't because that ref got faced by the light. And then the other ref forgot how to count.
By the way, great spot. I love that. It was very dirty, disgusting, heel, grimy stuff that I just love. I'm like, that's cool. And then obviously, we talked about the handcuff spot and all of that kind of stuff. But there was that moment of like, wait a minute, Owens is gonna win.
Yeah, and technically he did. If the ref did, like, I expected more of a dick punch because that's what we kind of we've seen a lot with Roman right now. Just like punch the ref in the dick and then like go from there. But I appreciate the throw into the light as well. That was nice.
It was a good time.
But yeah, and then of course it just ended in a situation of just Roman's like, oh fuck this, and then just chokes him out. And like that's what I felt. To me, that was frustration. That was just like I'm done. I'm done with this shit. I'm sorting it out.
Yeah, it was a great ending. Roman's very good at that kind of stuff. His acting is really good. You can just tell he's just loving what he's doing.
Yeah.
There's a difference when someone is loving what they're doing. His mannerisms and that, just that kind of fuck it mentality of like, okay, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm going to choke you out. You're done. I want to go home.
Yeah.
Goodbye kind of.
Very much so. All right, let's jump into... so Ibiza, Reigns is legitimately one of the best wrestlers in the world at the moment. I think for character perspective, fuck yes. Because I want to gobble up everything that's coming with this head of the table
Everything
stuff.
he touches turns to gold at the moment.
And that's why he has the Midas glove. I'm just putting it out there. I also thought it was like, or it could be the Infinity Gauntlet, either or. Both options are good. Let's get into the next, which was the final match tonight, which was the men's Royal Rumble. We'll go in order, and we can sort of we'll kick things off with Edge at number 1, Randy Orton at number 2. These guys were just like fuck you and went straight for each other's faces, which is
Pretty
great.
much.
Sort of continuation of that story when we know Edge got sort of put on the sidelines after tearing his tricep at Backlash. And we haven't seen him since. So there's a little bit of a story there, which big fan. And then it's a situation of like when Sammy comes in at 3, he's just like, hey, ready to go. Oh, no, they don't even know that I'm here yet. And I
The
like
injustice.
Yeah.
The justice for Sami Zayn.
Then Mustafa Ali at number 4. Number 5 is Jeff Hardy. 6, Dolph Ziggler. 7, Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I'll highlight this one for you specifically. Number 8 is Carlito. So I don't know who is.
Disappointed in you. Carlito was the man. Basically, if for anyone that doesn't know who Carlito, you probably got this, but he spits apple in people's faces of people who are not cool. His gimmick was Carlito Caribbean Cool. That's his full name. He come in like 2004. He won the US Championship on his debut.
Nice.
That's John Cena, I believe he beat. He was on SmackDown for a few years, went to Raw, was an IC champ, tag team champ. Was one of those guys like very Shelton Benjamin-like. Was right here, but never quite got to the top. And no one ever really knew why. A ton of potential, just never quite got there. And was not that big when he's jacked now. He was much leaner dude when he was around. He was nearly been gone for about 10 years now. He's jacked. But yeah, Carlito was the man. As someone who's in watching 2007 wrestling of all years at the moment, Carlito was the man. So good. I liked him as a kid. I like him now. But yeah, he was number 8, and it was just my voice was gone at that point. My voice was really gone by the time Carlito had got there.
Very nice. So next up was Xavier Woods and Big E, then John Morrison, and then in a big surprise, Ricochet. For someone that didn't qualify but suddenly did, I have a feeling this spot was meant to be my boy Keith.
Yes.
Fucking Keith Lee, you know who, Mia Yim, his partner, Reckoning, currently off with COVID. So I presume that he was meant to be here and Ricochet came in instead. Which is fine because Ricochet came in and fucking proved himself. Just saying.
I like Ricochet. Bit boring, but I like him.
Yeah. Elias at 13. Damien Priest, the Archer of Infamy at number 14. Dude, he's going to main, right?
You haven't watched Raw, but I'm not going to spoil it, but yes.
Good.
I don't like Damien Priest. I've said this before. I think he's very talented, but there is just something about this man that I have neutral, just nothing for him. Don't know what it is.
See, same thing. When I was watching previously, I was like, I'm not feeling it. And then when he had that the North American Championship with Gargano, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And then the idea of him just going to hop into a spot with his fucking leather pants on, I was like, yeah, I don't know. This dude don't give a shit. I like this guy. So yeah, those moments are kind of what got me over. And I think I'm just excited for fresh faces.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. And I think he will fit better on the main roster than he did in NXT. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, very much so. Next up was number 15, The Miz, who, might I add, didn't cash in.
No.
I kind of predicted that he would, but I also for me it was more of I don't think he will, but I would expect WWE to make him do it. Yeah, I mean, because like I see, because Rumble is essentially a new season, and I think they'd be like, let's just fuck that off because we've handled the whole Money in the Bank really shitty for the last 6 months. Let's just get rid of it as we start the quote new season of WWE. But no,
I think the Mr. Miz is going to be cashing in at WrestleMania, but we'll get to that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Number 16 is Riddle. Number 17 is who I and almost everybody else thought was going to win, Daniel Bryan. Followed by the most surprise entrant I could have ever fucking had, Kane. It almost like it, because there was a lot of talk about how Dolph Ziggler may beat him in terms of entrance.
Kane was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, Kane comes in for his 18th Rumble appearance at number 18 and goes, "Fuck you," and then just throws Ziggler out of the ring. He's like, "Eat my dick. You ain't beating my thing."
My sister the day before, so we did like a big Rumble marathon the day before. We do it every year. Watched a bunch of Rumbles, and Shaylee's like, "Kane's gonna be in the Rumble. You watch. Kane will come back." I'm like, okay. Kane is like not coming back. He's just no. And that fire went off and the pyro went off and I was like, who's this? And my sister's like, I told you Kane was going to be in this. Kane, old mate Kane's, he's a little rounder than he used to be.
That's perfectly fine. Like the thing that I still love, and it's the same thing that made me chuckle really hard at Super Showdown, was the idea that like there's a county somewhere with like, oh, can I speak to the mayor? Like, oh no, I'm very sorry. He's currently in tights on the other side of the world wrestling another fellow old man. Where here it's the same thing. Is like, is man Jacobs around? No. He is currently in Florida. Throwing men around.
What a concept.
Can your important community-based concerns make it to the end of the week?
Yeah, but Kane was in it. Probably the most random entry, just because I really honestly didn't think he was going to be in it.
Yeah, me either. So like, because because I'm part of Mad Dog's Rumble prediction championship. And my pick was for surprise entrance, which I fucking should have. The second that I pressed send, I'm like, oh, I picked horribly because I had a better answer. I put Aleister Black.
Oh.
So when I saw the fire, I'm like, Aleister Black? And it's Kane. I'm like, not Aleister Black.
Wrong.
Yeah, like, so wrong. Next up was King Corbin. On a side note, by the way, are we going to see Corbin? Are we going to see a King of the Ring this year?
I hope so, because I'm sick of King Corbin.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well.
I'm not sick of Corbin. I'm sick of King Corbin.
Yeah. I love Corbin because he is like the heel that everyone hates, and I think that's the beauty of him, is everyone's like, he's fucking King, fucking Corbin. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like when the King of the Ring happened, I'm like, he's going to win. Like, why? Because like, you'll get mad.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's run its course.
It certainly has. Otis comes in at number 20. Dominic Mysterio, number 21. Booby Lashley at 22. Hurricane Helms at 23, which is fantastic because last I saw of him was, being detective on Talking Shopper Mania. So, like, to see that still be cool, I'm like, yeah. And here we go. Number 24. Christian.
I cried like a little baby.
See, for me, I wasn't there when Edge and Christian was a thing. However, I know their importance. I know everything. I know their story. So when I saw him walk out, my jaw fell to the floor. I was shocked because I'm like, he's not meant to be here. And for me, it was a circumstance. It's the same emotions that I felt when Edge came out. I'm like, you're not. This is. I can't imagine being told that I will never be able to do something that I love ever again.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that moment when you can do it again and do it with your longtime partner and probably one of your best friends in the industry. So when they come into that together and they have that moment and they look at each other and all I see on their faces is, we're fucking doing it.
Yep.
It's us again. We're back. I fucking cried because that.
Yeah.
All I could read, I got was I just empathized with it so much, and like I just felt that energy, and this was a catharsis moment. It's the same thing as when Edge it's the same face you saw when Edge walked through that smoke last year, and you read every emotion on there. And when you see Edge and Christian stand next to each other, and you look, and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
Everything all the shit they have worked for to get to that point, whether it be surgeries and work and training, and that one moment was all sort of worth it. It fucking reeked of awesomeness. What about you?
Yeah. So obviously, for obvious reasons, very similar to Edge last year. I wish there was a crowd, man. I wish there was a crowd. That would have went nuts for Christian, but I couldn't imagine what it feels like to be told you can't do what you've done your whole entire adult life anymore. You cannot do it. You didn't get a choice. You didn't get to have that kind of write off to where you were going for you didn't have a choice of where you were going in terms of this is your last match and this is your last everything. It's like, just come back and do it on your own terms is so cool. And I just, very emotional moment, and just cool to see Christian again. And I was just crying like a little girl.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's the one thing I fucking love about wrestling. I love many things about wrestling, but be able to be emotionally invested, and me personally, not to I'm very open with my emotions at the best of times. So
me too.
To be at a point where I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna cry. Like when Kofi won, I bawled my shit out. You know what I mean? Like there was so much in that. Like you talk about.
I've had moments in wrestling where Edge is one of them. This one, and not only it's like they're best friends of this industry. They've been best friends since they were 6 years old.
Yeah.
Like they've literally, this is all they wanted to do in their lives. And I just couldn't imagine being like something I love to do and just being like, you physically cannot do this anymore. It's like, I want to end this on my own terms, which is what we're seeing with Edge and Christian. But Edge come out at number 21 last year. Christian was number 24 this year. Beth Phoenix, Edge's wife, was number 24 in the first Women's Rumble. So there's a cool little tidbit. But Christian is just, I've always loved Christian. I was always a Christian guy over Edge. I always loved Christian. I just think Christian is the man. He's just a grimy little heel when he was at his best. And yeah, just a cool moment. Easily the standout moment from the Men's Rumble. Easily probably the moment of both Rumbles, just in terms of pure emotion. But I like, some people are like, oh, it's just like it's Edge's best friend and they're just doing the same. I kind of like that they did exactly the same thing as last year. Like nobody knew. It was very hush hush and a genuine reaction. Wrestling's the best when you can feel like you're 10 years old.
Yeah. So
I kind of just felt like a child. I'm like, oh my God, it's Christian. And it's just a cool moment. And the hug and everything like that. Like that'll be a moment I remember, forever.
Beezer in the chat brings up a good point. I'll certainly agree with this. He goes, Edge's entrance was better because of Adam coming out, but then transitioning to Edge, which is very true because what we see Adam Copeland walk through that smoke, and then we see him process and go, whew, and then he's Edge.
And then he's Edge. It's Jay coming out and then becoming Christian.
Same thing. Like we have that. Like I think if there was a crowd on the level of Rumble last year, we would have seen Jay become Christian. But here there was enough quiet, for lack of a better term, that he'd be able to sort of be more in character. But
it just was very real and very emotional and just and not a moment in wrestling that you can really capture or in terms of script. It's
my video is frozen. Oh no! Hang on. And I'm back. Oh no! Thank you. It does. The Camlink does that occasionally for no real reason.
Oh, cool. So it's just very real, very cool. Like I said, easily the standout moment. you think of the year 2021 in the Rumble, I think it would be like, oh, that's the year that Christian came back.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And to have that moment with Edge. And from his tweets and from his network exclusives, you know, their little interviews, I don't think it's the end for Christian. I think he said if it's the end, that's cool. I got my choice this time to be like, I had my last match. But wait and see, I guess. It's pretty cool to see. I'd like to see Edge and Christian just one more time be a team.
Yeah, let them. Do you reckon they get the titles once more?
Why not? I mean, they do it with everybody else.
They did it with the Hardys.
Exactly, and it was cool. And just to be like, that's one more time. And we don't have a lot of people running around from 1999 anymore on a consistent basis. The list is getting shorter and shorter and shorter as the years go on. So why not do it? You know what I mean? Like, let's just give them a little bit of a run. But there's a little part of me that wishes we never really got like an Edge and Christian one-on-one program. They had a very brief one during the invasion in 2001. But we never really got Edge versus Christian on a big scale. Like, imagine if that was both of their last matches.
They
Edge
both retired.
Christian. Like, imagine that. Storybook ending. I got to wrestle my best friend. It was both of our last matches. They can go off into the sunset and be like, we ended our careers on our own terms, the way we started, fighting each other.
And it ends in a double count out, so no one actually won.
Sure.
Number 25 was AJ Styles. Number 26 was Rey Mysterio. 27 was Sheamus. 28, Cesaro. 29, the returning Seth Rollins. Which is the second that I clicked submit on my predictions, I was like, "Fucking Seth Rollins, god damn it, you idiot! You said it in the predictions pod with Mad Dog. Why did I not write it down, you idiot?" That was me. And then number 1, a wasted fucking potential with Braun Strowman. Why have him come out on SmackDown the day before, the 2 days before? Nah. I like Braun Strowman. I am a big fan, and I don't know why. I just dig him, but you should not have had him run out there. You should have had him run out at Rumble, and you at least would get a small pop.
I'm going to say this directly into the mic like ASMR. I hate Braun Strowman.
And that's perfectly fine. I understand that.
I can't stand him. Where was Jey Uso, by the way? He was announced and he wasn't in it. Just putting that out there. Jey Uso was a member and he wasn't there, so who knows. But Braun does nothing for me. It is 3 years too late with that dude. I wouldn't care if I never seen him again. I was very worried. There was a moment when we were down after Braun came out and I was like, the only person that I don't want to win this is Braun Strowman, and to me that means he's going to win. So that was like, I was very scared at one point. But we did also, we haven't talked about the fact that Randy got taken out at the very start of the match, hurt his knee, and kind of milked that, went to the back. They had camera cutaways between the matches, Randy getting checked out by the docs. But Braun is just, I cared about him 3 years ago, and I don't care for him anymore. He's the same every single time. But that's that's.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, because I do kind of agree. Like, because I've been watching for 2.5 years now, and the only proper shot that he had was was Mania, mostly because Roman couldn't compete. So, like, I'd seen him have moments where he probably should have had a go, and then it failed, and apparently it was because of backstage heat or whatnot. Like, either way, they half baked Braun all the time. So for me, it was a circumstance of give him his shot, and then he finally got it at the hands of somebody else not being able to do it. But I think he did a great job as transition. Personally, once again, that's coming from me being a fan, though.
Braun Strowman, okay, I'm about to get real Australian here, but it's fine. You know when you go to the pub, right, and you get a nice snitty, and you look at this snitty, it's got gravy, you got your salad and your veg from the veg bar, and you got your chips, and it looks great. And then you cut into it, and you put it in your mouth, and you go, wow. It's fine. This is good. It's fine. Does its job. It's, I guess it fills me up. But it looked a lot better than the actual meal itself. Like, maybe your chips are a little bit cold, your gravy's a little runny or something like that. There's nothing worse than when you're just like, it's just what it is. Yeah. Braun is that to me. He's an average schnitzel. And
But he is a good looking schnitzel right now. He is more jacked than he was previously. Like he's gone away, and he's come back and he's looking damn good. But let's talk about the Final Four. So the Final Four, as we knew it at that moment, was Edge, Rollins, Christian, and Strowman. So there's a circumstance where Edge has Braun by the neck on the outside. I'm thinking Edge is about to fucking eat it. Christian comes in, helps get Braun over. Bam. Love it. And then shit goes down like bang, 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 bang for the next like fucking what feels like 10 seconds. We see Christian get out. We see Edge get back in. We see Rollins get yeeted. You're like, holy shit, fucking Edge has won it. This is insane. RKO by Randy. I'm like, what the fuck? Randy was here the whole time. He gets picked up and gets thrown. He almost gets thrown out, but doesn't. Edge is like, fuck your face. Throws him out. Edge wins again. The amount of emotional turmoil that I had in what felt like milliseconds was. And
it's very opposite to the women too, because the women had that kind of space where it was like just Charlotte and then Rhea and
a bit of space
Bianca
to breathe
like
and tension, yeah.
Yeah, and this one was like boom, boom, boom. I do appreciate the fact that they were different. I really appreciate it. And I like the ending to play on us. Like they trolled us with Randy and it was like, Randy's gonna win. Randy's no, please don't win like this. And then Edge kind of gets him out at the end. It's like, holy crap. Edge is the story that writes himself. The title that he never lost 9 years ago is now what he has an opportunity to grab. Cool moment, very heartfelt again. And I kind of like how they went with like the future with Bianca and the kind of the dude that's been around for a long time getting that one final chance at championship glory. I like the contrast and story.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So it's like I'm in the same boat, but my original prediction for Daniel Bryan was because that's WWE swerved me. Like they were projecting Daniel Bryan. I'm like, sweet, I like that as an idea because for me it's Daniel Bryan. So that means he's probably going to go to Mania and someone I was listening to another podcast and they pointed out to me that every match that Roman has had to defend his title has been a stipulation match. So the answer is, what is the ultimate stipulation match? A career match. So I'm thinking, oh shit, come Mania, we're gonna have Roman versus fucking Daniel Bryan, and loser retires, and that's how Daniel goes out. That could still happen.
I mean, it could still happen. Of course, Edge has an opportunity to choose.
WWE but Universal. That could happen to Edge as well. He could choose to go to Universal. He could end his career on a match and put someone over on the way out.
Yeah. It seems pretty. What I do like more so than Bianca, it's a little bit more left of field that should pick Asuka. It's a little bit more like doesn't really make much sense here. Really could go either way because there's no real work. Edge versus Drew, sign me up. Edge versus Roman, sign me up. It doesn't really sound bad, and it kind of makes sense story-wise wherever Edge really decides to go.
Well, because there really is no story going in aside from this guy's last run. So that they have the ability, it's clay. They can morph it however they choose to fit the story they want to tell. And I like that potentially because once again, you and I talk about the best part of wrestling is when you don't see it coming. And I think this is an exact moment of that where you can be like, I don't know where this is going to go, but either way, it's going to end in a title match that I want to see.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree completely. And Edge is cool with me. There's a lot of online chatter, which I don't even want to bring up.
Like what?
People kind of have turned on Edge because he's an old guy getting a spot that a young guy should have got because everyone thought it should have been someone else. And I'm like, 2 months ago, you were like, loving Edge.
That's wrestling fans for you, man.
Yeah, they're the worst.
But see, this is the thing. It's not as if he was in there and he had the most elimination as well. He has not made anyone look any weaker because of this. At all.
No, and he was in there for the entire time. That dude put in the work, and people like, oh, he's just popping up when he wants to. Like, oh, he hurt his tricep. I think he would have been a little bit more frequent if he didn't hurt his tricep at the greatest wrestling match ever. But that's just how it went down. I have no problem with Edge. It's the story that makes the most sense going into Mania with fans. And because the story writes itself, it's literally a championship that he never lost. He had to surrender. It's time to get what he rightfully never lost back. That's the kind of, to me, it's just easy. So, but I have no problem with Edge, and I like the contrast with Bianca and Edge winning. So, But yeah, overall, I thought the men's Rumble was not as good as the women's. The men's Rumble was a little bit, it wasn't mapped out and spaced out as well. There was a little bit more filler to me, which is probably just an overriding statement of the women's division has less filler than
once again, because with the women, there are less women, so there's less fluff in general. Like, look over at the men's, you've got 4 titles to have stories for, plus any other side story going on. So there's a lot of that, where the women's, it's like, well, you've got 2 titles, and even one of them's not really in the picture right now. The tag ones are pretty prominent. You mean, like, there's, like, I didn't even count any tag stories in those men's belts. You know what I mean? So the women have a much better space to work in terms of being able to tell clearer narratives. You know, and like that's one of the other advantages of it. But you know, in terms of Edge, I see Edge going with Drew. I think he's going to, because that's his title, the Universal Champion.
I think he's going to go with Roman.
Oh, really?
I really think he's going to go with Roman because, I think with the way Roman's been built as kind of, I'm the man, I'm the head of the table, I'm the tribal chief, respect me. And he hasn't really had that program with somebody who was around 15 years ago.
Yeah, see, that's where I thought Rock would have filled, but
yeah, I understand that too. I think I just don't see that happening. I just see that happening maybe one day. It's not happening this year. I just think Roman. I think to me, Roman is going to hold the championship a lot longer than WrestleMania, and I think Edge is just another kind of check in the box for Roman. For when he eventually does drop this championship, it's like that dude beat everybody. The only reason I go with him, Edge and Roman, is because I just think it's a better story for Edge to tell because it's a very clear Edge is the good guy, Reigns is the bad guy, and I think they really have put so much stock into building Drew as the top baby face that I don't think putting Edge is in a spot where I don't think he could be the quote unquote bad guy. Yeah. I don't think Edge is in that spot.
No.
I could be wrong, but I just see more Roman versus Edge than I do Drew versus Edge.
Well, yeah, if you want that clear babyface versus heel, then you are spot on because Drew's not turning anytime soon, I don't think.
No. And I don't think they're going to turn Edge. I just think it's a too feel-good story at WrestleMania to have that tease of Edge winning for him to be... I mean, you could easily have a face-to-face scenario. That's fine. But I think, to me, a true main event of WrestleMania screams more Edge and Roman than Edge and Drew.
Yeah.
Both would be rad, but...
So Mad Dog's also mentioned Spear versus Spear, which is the cool idea. But we also had that with Roman versus Goldberg as well. So
that never really happened.
It never really happened-ish. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of Spear versus Spear was there, so...
But then there's the whole argument of, like, if Edge doesn't choose Drew, who does Drew really work with at WrestleMania? Because I feel like there's more on the Roman side of things for people to work with than there is Drew.
Yeah.
So it's a toss-up. I guess it's the idea of the road to WrestleMania. We find out when we find out.
Yeah. Cool. And that, I've seen the first, 20 minutes of Raw, and that's pretty much what Edge says. He's like, I'll fucking tell you when I'm ready. And...
Yeah.
I like
Why
that.
wouldn't he, though?
Yeah.
Hold off. If I won the Royal Rumble, I would not tell you the night after the Royal Rumble. I would be like, you can sit there and...
I would hold it because, there's 2 more defenses between now and then. I need to know what's going to happen.
Exactly. I'm not going to be like the WWE title, and then it's like someone that you don't want to fight at WrestleMania.
So to go off my original pitch of Rock versus Roman at the Hollywood Mania, which has since been moved to 2023, Ibiza said, so Roman holding the title through to 2023? I'm like... Possibly. I don't see it because that is so long.
That's so long. You can't, in a modern era, that shit is near impossible because how would you, that'd be a nightmare. There's not enough established, of course there's lots of time, but there's not enough established stars within the company to keep that relevant. But it's not like Roman's not going to drop a title and win a title back in the next 2 years until WrestleMania in Hollywood. But, this man is going to have a long reign. There's no way he's going to have a short reign. I see it going well beyond Mania this year. Well beyond. Which, rightfully so. He's on another level to everybody else at the moment.
Yeah, and Beast goes, give each main event a level guy a 3-month program. That's it. With Roman, give him 3 months. Like, all right, you're going to spotlight this person. You're going to spotlight this person. Like, granted, you're going to come out a loser at the end, but you're going to look fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that's working with Roman at the moment is turning into gold. Like, it's weird. 3 losses for Kevin Owens in consecutive Universal Championship matches, and the dude still looks gold out of it. It doesn't hurt him.
Because, like, it does demonstrate my own irony, my own hypocrisy. I'm like, Carmela 3 times. Why the fuck do I want to see that? But I'm like, Kevin Owens versus Roman for the 3rd time? Yes, please.
It's because the challenges being... Roman does a really good job at building challenges against him. I think it's a testament to his work because he's very good at making you believe that I'm going to win, but am I going to win?
Yeah.
There's something about him, and he's very, like... He's not the stereotypical, like, I'm angry heel. He's very calm, very collected. Like, this is how it's going to go down. Respect me, all of that kind of stuff. Roman does a really good job at building his challenges to be really credible, even within the matches. I think the difference between maybe Banks and Roman is that Banks is a very good champion in the sense of, like, she carries the company very well. But Roman is just... maybe a better star than he elevates people around him instead of just elevating himself. There's a difference, I think, and Roman does a very good job. And that's not anything against.
But that's
Sasha.
in conjunction with Heyman as well. I think the two of them
Heyman,
now,
everywhere,
are sort of doing that. It's the same idea that Heyman had when he was with Brock and he's working on Drew. You know what I mean? It was all about building that, and I think Heyman is remarkable in that sense. And same goes across when he was creative, whatever the fuck, for Raw for that 25 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, in that very short window of time that he had, his focus was on lifting new dudes, you know, and that shit was cool. You know, or sort of bringing up everyone around, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. We've got a long time to really process it. We've got literal months. But, man,
68 days.
Yeah. Just in the same that Fox did when they 69 days. I was like, nice.
And
they did.
like,
and shout out to them.
I looked at everyone here. I was like, 69. Everyone's like,
yeah.
We're all such immature people.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm turning 32 this year. I'm like, 69.
69. Sexy.
But look, we don't really review pay-per-views in terms of numbers or anything. We just talk about... Oh, no, we do, actually. I fucking lie. We have our not-so-patented Kurt Angle rating system. We haven't used it this year because we didn't in terms of the weekly shows, but we're going to do it for the pay-per-views, I think. So Kurt... For those who don't know, that might be joining us for new, Kurt Angle, as you know, looks like a fucking thumb. So our rating system is 2 Kurt Angles. So you go equivalent. Is it 1 Kurt Angle? Is it... You know, and then you got a Kurt or you got a bar. So using the idea of bar, Kurt and a bar, or 2 Kurts, how do you rate this pay-per-view, Josh? 2 Kurts, 2 Kurts.
I want to give 6 Kurts at this point. Fantastic show, top to bottom, very good.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat. It's 2 Kurts, 2 thumb-looking dudes, but there were some slowdown, obviously, with the Sasha and stuff, but. Because I don't review, like, when it comes to this, because the entire show is about fucking fun, so I review 100% subjectively here. If you want my objective reviews, go check out the fucking game reviews that I do, or the, you know, quote, more objective reviews, because it's still, all reviews are subjective. But I mean, truly based on fucking emotion, and if I enjoyed it or not, yeah, the fucking Rumbles alone, you know, just outweighed any hurdles that I had, let alone followed up by an awesome Universal title match. You know what I mean? And, like, the other thing was kind of fine, but, like, the overall feeling that I had when I left was fucking 2 Kurts, man. Easy.
Really good stuff. I always enjoy Rumbles. I always say this. It's, if anyone that follows any of me know, they're probably sick of me saying this, but even a bad Rumble is better than, like, a lot of stuff. I'd take a bad Rumble over something because it's still a Rumble. So, just a really good show. Rumble's my favorite time. I love Mania to bits, but Rumble is my go-to. I'd choose Rumble over WrestleMania, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a whole different energy with Rumble, and I think this year delivered that energy, delivered that possibility, that wonder that Rumbles can do. Like I say, I'm watching, you know, this is my 3rd live Rumble, and it's by far the best experience. It's the first year I didn't do a sweep though. Oh. Which is the one thing that I've really enjoyed doing the last 2 years, but I left it too late. So I didn't follow it up. But the sweep is normally a big part of it because you just start because when you get allocated someone trash, like no,
we do that as well. So me, my sister, and my sister's fiance, all like we ask. I won't say the first name of Bliss because she'll turn on. I asked that echo thing.
Yeah.
Now she's gonna turn on. Shut up.
That device. Yeah.
Yeah, that device. We ask for a random number and be like, okay, this is your number in the Rumble, and we all get 2 each just because there's only 3 of us. We all got trash people, by the way. None of us got winners. We're like, ooh, yikes. I believe I got Jillian Hall in the, and I was like, oh no, she's not. She's not gonna win. But yeah, we all got numbers and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff as well. Like I live for that kind of stuff, to be completely honest, because it's just like, oh, it makes it feel real, and it's just there is a different energy with a Rumble that you can't get anywhere else. No other wrestling.
My wife doesn't really like wrestling at the best of times. But she engaged in last year's Rumble, yeah, or the year before. I can't remember. Either way, she's like, fuck it, I'll give it a go. Give me some numbers. I'm like, no worries. You've got this number and this number. So she got Nia Jax. And then Nia Jax got like fucking yeeted by like 11 women. She's like, this is bullshit. And then for the men's, she had Ali. And what happens? Nia Jax comes in and yeets Ali. She's like, what the fuck is this? So my wife has explicitly stated that she will never engage in a Rumble
we were like
sweep
that too.
again.
Everyone was like battling it out. Like, don't you touch my person? That's my person that I got in this Rumble.
So you've already made me lose once. They make me lose again.
I was like that with the men's and the women with all of us. I was like, oh my God. I think my sister eliminated me in both Rumbles. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, get out of here. And she's like,
But that does bring us to the end of our Royal Rumble review. Big thank you, Josh, for joining me once again. This has been an absolute blast of a conversation. I've loved every second of it. It's fun because as it's like what Jem and I do here is a niche within a niche. Most people don't give 2 shits about stories, let alone stories of the WWE. So to be able to have someone that comes in, that gets it, that enjoys the story and the character work, even though everyone else shits on it on the internet, is the best. To have someone that matches that energy of what we want to do, that understand that wrestling is a soap opera and it's fucking fun because of it. So I'm so happy you were willing to join me tonight. Thank you.
No problemo. Anytime. As long as I'm free, as long as I'm not working, I'm down.
But for those that don't know, where can they find you?
Easiest place to keep up with everything that I do is Twitter at JoshRobinson00 and pretty much JoshRobinson00 across the board. Here on Twitch, if you're in the chat right now, I stream 4 or 5 times a week. It's dumb. I'm not very good at games, but you can laugh at me. I don't care as long as you're laughing. I do provide what I think is a pretty good time. So
I drop in occasionally and is in fact a good time. Can confirm.
Yeah, wrestling games is what I play mostly, but I'll play other stuff as well. I play some GTA here and there. I've got some other things like some first-person shooters that you will probably get very angry with watching with me because I'm so bad at first-person shooters, but some people want to see that. So I'm going to play some COD in that soon, play some Fortnite, which I'm complete dog shit at. I'll just put it like that. So twitch.tv/JoshRobinson00. I have a few shows. I'm on Love Wrestling. I drop a lot of content on YouTube. 5 Reasons Why, all different kinds of stuff. Just go to my Twitter and you'll see all the stuff you need to do. So JoshRobinson00. Come chat with me about whatever you want.
The Twitter handle is there. No, that way. There. Down below.
It'll be like down here where I am.
Yeah, it's somewhere down there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, this is our wrestling podcast. It's Young and the Wrestlers, where we deep dive into the soap opera nature of the WWE. We look at storylines, we look at characters, and we just mark the fuck out. And it usually comes at you every Thursday morning on your podcast services, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you want to join that wrestling conversation, you can. Head over to our Facebook, Discord, Instagram. All those links are in the description below. If you want to join the conversation as it happens, just like Ibiza did, just like Mad Dog did, just like I saw Buddy Watson in there earlier as well. And there was, what was the friend of yours? Where did he go? What's his name? Reese Likes Wrestling. Yeah, Reese Likes Wrestling was in there too. Tons of amazing people. And there's Giddy. And the
Giddy's
Mullet
here
Show
as
was
well.
there as well. If you want to join the show the same way you can, twitch.tv/thepopculture is where we record this show live. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this wrestling pod. If you are on the podcast service, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. Or if you are on the YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I will endeavor to answer every single comment. And of course, Kilobyte snuck in there as well. Another name we see very, very infrequently, but he comes in and I always get excited when I see his name in the chat. If you want to support the show financially, you can. popcultures.com/shop where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. All right, I gotta go watch Raw now. I have like fucking hours a couple hours before I go to bed. So thank you everyone for joining us once again. Mwah! We'll see you around.